In case you haven't heard, Vince McMahon is quitting the WWE, and that has sent shockwaves through the world's largest wrestling promotion. Wrestling fans and WWE shareholders alike are watching the developments with great interest as the company reshuffles its leadership. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the shakeups in the Titan Towers, including Triple H getting a big promotion. That's right, the former head of NXT's creative team is now in charge of creative for the whole brand. The once 14-time WWE World Champion and mastermind of the NXT's Black and Gold era is not just back in creative, he's running the whole shebang now. This is probably some of the best news to come out of Vince McMahon's retirement, as fans had long grown tired of Vince's iron grip on creative. It initially seemed as though Bruce Pritchard would continue to embody the old ways at the head of the table, but this announcement suggests that he's out too. Along with the announcement of Triple H's takeover of WWE Creative, Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan have now been formalized as co-CEOs. That's an unusual arrangement, but not unheard of. Steph is additionally the chairwoman of the board now, while Nick Khan is retaining his original seat on the board. If you don't follow the company's backstage politics much, you might be wondering why this is exciting news. Ask most fans who they'd like to see running WWE's creative, and Triple H's name will be one of the first they come up with. He obviously isn't going by that name anymore, but Paul Levesque will always be Triple H to us. There was a lot of skepticism around Levesque gaining executive roles in the company since he's obviously married to the former CEO's daughter, but he proved himself to have a lot more integrity than his cerebral assassin character had, and fans loved the work he was doing as executive vice president of talent, live events, and creative. But Levesque's most notable achievement to date was breathing life into NXT. What started off as just another reality C show like Tough Enough was slowly built into WWE's premier developmental territory. Since Levesque had basically complete control of the brand, he signed the best stars to it and put a focus on in-ring performance over storylines. As a result, NXT eventually ascended to the status of being the WWE's third main show, on the level of Raw and SmackDown. Fans and critics alike considered the NXT's weekly shows and pay-per-views to be just as good, and often better, than those of the WWE's. But Paul Levesque's career hit some choppy waters. Levesque's fall from grace came after Vince gave him an impossible mission. There was an upstart competitor to the company, and its name was All Elite Wrestling. They started airing their Dynamite show on Wednesday nights to compete with the Black and Gold brand. NXT was basically a developmental territory, whereas Dynamite was a main show. Vince figured that instead of making Raw or SmackDown better, he would put NXT up to fight the Wednesday Night Wars against AEW. Despite their best efforts, NXT just couldn't compete with AEW, and the WWE was forced to concede the Wednesday Night Wars to AEW. As punishment, Vince took the first opportunity he got to strip Levesque of his responsibilities. That opportunity coming when Levesque suffered a life-threatening heart condition. But karma has caught up with Vince McMahon. He's out now, and Triple H has more control over the game than ever before. Fingers crossed that he can do for the whole company what he once did for NXT. Speaking of the former patriarch of the WWE, what's his future looking like? As Vince announced his retirement, he did take care to remind us all that he's still the majority shareholder in the company. Since publicly traded companies are beholden to their shareholders, that basically means that Vince may not be walking the offices at Titan Towers anymore, but his influence is still there. Is that good news or bad? We'll let you be the judge of that. He also has influence in the company through his associates who are still working there. John Laurinaitis isn't one of them, and like we speculated earlier, neither is Bruce Pritchard. But Kevin Dunn is still at the company as of this video, and his daughter is a co-CEO. At one point, we would have pointed out that Paul Levesque is Vince's son-in-law, but we're thinking Levesque isn't going to be taking too many marching orders from Vince right now. All that being said, it's a mystery how long Vince's spirit will linger at the company. It sure seemed like he was determined to hold on to power at the company at any cost. So for him to let it go is concerning. Most people involved in this case or following it are expecting some really bad news on the horizon for Vince, and he's distancing himself from the company to shield it from any blowback. For now, though, Vince's ordeal at the company remains an internal matter. His real fate will probably be decided when things go external, and he ends up in court for his crimes. Although Vince McMahon has had a very shadowy life, there's something almost tragic about the note it's ending on. Next, in other news, WWE had some bad news for their investors this week. If you had any experience with trading stock in companies, you'll be familiar with the very nerdy sounding term fiduciary duty. It basically means that when two parties enter into an agreement, one side is legally bound to act in good faith and deliver the best outcome to the other. One example of fiduciary duty is that of a company to its shareholders, and the WWE completely messed it up. The company disclosed this week that there is a $14.6 million worth of unrecorded and hence unreported expenses at the company. You already know what these expenses were. Vince has been pilfering from the company's coffers to pay hush money to women he'd sexually assaulted. But what's new about this detail is that the officially reported amount is higher than what was reported by the Wall Street Journal last month, higher by $2.6 million. They're also anticipating more financial black holes to appear in their accounting and are warning investors that they'll be revising their financial reports for the years 2019, 2020, and 2021. If it sounds like the WWE should be in trouble for this, they are. Shareholders can apparently look forward to the WWE being investigated by the Securities Exchange Commission, and third parties have joined the investigation into Vince McMahon's crimes. It sure seems like anyone who has stock in the WWE should hit the sell button, as the stock is on a nosedive right now. But when it comes to stocks, when it's time to sell, it might just be time to buy. Experts are giving the green signal to snap up some WWE stock. Looking at the general trend of WWE's share prices over the past year or so, the price is trending upwards. While the scandal has tugged the price down a bit, it has yet to decline below even in 2021 levels. Still, this might be a good time to buy some shares. Loop Capital is one bank that's telling us it's time to buy. The reason for this might just be predictable at this point. WWE may be on the verge of being acquired by a media company. Sharks have been circling the WWE for years, and there has been speculation of WWE being acquired every time the stock dipped. But it was partly thanks to Vince's bullheaded approach that the company has remained independent for so long. Well, Vince is gone, and the WWE is in trouble. If they were ever going to be acquired, now would be the time. And there are hungry buyers out there. Reports say that Disney, Comcast, Amazon, and Netflix are interested. Pro wrestling on Netflix might just be what the platform needs to save itself from its own misfortunes. If the WWE did get snapped up amid Vince's scandals, it wouldn't even be the first time that happened in 2022. This is still the year in which Microsoft capitalized on dark times at Activision Blizzard to acquire one of gaming's biggest publishers. But whatever happens at the offices and stock exchange, we really are entering a new era for WWE wrestling. Rumors have been swirling for a while that the WWE was about to step up from its PG rating back to a TV-14. The Undertaker threw gasoline on the rumors by saying that it could happen, and it'd be great if it did. With Attitude Era icon Triple H now running the creative side of things, we may genuinely see the end of the PG era at the company. If you're too young to remember the Attitude or Ruthless Aggression eras of the WWE, know that this company tended to push the envelope with its violence. However, the company was pressured to make changes after the R-rated wrestling of the time caught up to Chris Benoit. Suffering from severe chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the man ended up murdering his wife and son before killing himself in 2007. While the PG era started about a year later, it may finally be time to move on from it, as long as we're keeping everyone safe. That's it for today's video. Are you excited about Triple H taking the helm at creative? What do you imagine he would change at the company's core shows? And here's an off-the-wall question. Could we end up with Sasha Banks and Naomi back in the WWE? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.